correctly diagnose, and then successfully treat health conditions such as chronic back pain, spinal injury, sciatica, numbness, lupus, arthritis, joint pain, facial nerve pain, knee, heel, and shoulder pain, cramps, and carpal tunnel syndrome. Also available at La Clinique de Corps, complete nerve tests to detect nerve injury or muscle disease. All health insurances are accepted at La Clinique de Corps. So walk again pain-free with La Clinique de Corps. To book an appointment, please call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950.
Automotive Art is a place to start.
Shift into your savings gear this March at Automotive Art as we launch our March Madness sale. Pull up at any of our branches this March and save 20% off on all car accessories. Roll out with fantastic deals on tires of up to 30% off. And if you're missing some key tools for your toolkit, no problem. We're offering 15% off on all tools store-wide. But that's not all. Shop now and enjoy exclusive in-store specials on car care, lubricants, and more. Don't miss out on the action. The March Madness sale is happening right now at Automotive Art. Automotive Art, your car, our passion. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
In the heart of every community lies a dream waiting to come true as a journey begins. We dribble through life's hurdles, breaking down its barriers, looking beyond the horizon. Lessons are learned, friendships are forged, and strength is birthed from within. Beyond tactics and goals, we strive as a team. With discipline and perseverance, we advance. Through every kick, stumble, and victory, our lives are changing, and together we rise.
It's not just a game. Football is our life.
The St. Lucia Semi-Pro Football League, leveraging football to transform lives.
On Easter Sunday, the biggest brunch party in the West returns. Rise 4, the celebration. Easter Sunday, March 31st, Soufre Mini Stadium. Featuring international sensation Tennyson John and the DJ Project live. Also, MTX, A1 Jugglers, Sir Lancelot, Hype Kid, DJ JH Indalo, Levi Chin, DJ Irv, Power FM DJs, MC Donnerville. Easter Sunday from 12 noon. We rise.
Look at people in here tonight. Dance with me, baby.
Regular tickets are $80 and $350 for a VIP terrace area. Get your tickets online at www.fourcirclestickets.com. Mambo's Bar and Courts in Soufre and Courts Ready Cash island-wide. Get VIP and group tickets with no cash at Courts Ready Cash. Dress code Slay in Orange. Rise 4, the celebration, an Optimum event production. Platinum sponsors, Courts Ready Cash and Power 97.9 FM. Gold sponsor, Bank of St. Lucia. Other sponsors, Digicel, Piton Beer, Strongbow, and Island Sound.
Discover Power 97.9 FM and listen all day, every day with powerful names in radio. Your power personalities, powerful shows, the best in Power Pack programs, pure niceness with Power Up Mornings. Wake up, praise, and worship. Then be a part of the most exciting show in the land. Threesome in the morning. Share your views inside the Situation Room. From 10 a.m., it's mid-mornings, followed by your Power Lunchtime News. And then the biggest lunchtime talk show, NewsSpin. From 2 p.m., it's the afternoon Power Drive. At 6 p.m., we take off with Flight 97. Weekends are steamy with French Connections. Sound Up Saturdays and Sunday Recharge. We dedicate Power 97.9 FM to you. Discover your champion sound. Power 97.9 FM. Streaming live via the internet at www.power979.com. This is Power 97.9 FM.
For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to another edition of the most monitored talk show in the world, and that is NewsSpin on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on the NewsSpin Facebook page as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel. My name is Timothy Poleon. We go up until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Later, your calls at 452-2979. That's 452-2979. Along with your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026, and that is 716-2026. We are limited this afternoon to our discussion with a special guest in light of things that are happening in the country politically and in light also of recent developments which occurred during a sitting of the St. Lucia House of Assembly. Unexpected developments. And my guest, therefore, is the leader of the parliamentary opposition, and he is also the MP for Micoud South, Mr. Alan Chastney. Welcome to the broadcast, sir.
Great to be here with you today, Tim.
From the outset, let me ask you, were you surprised about the turn of events which occurred yesterday, whereby you were challenging the decision of the government in the first instance, and that is to amend the Constitution so that somebody who is somebody from outside the island's parliament, who is not a member of the parliament, can be the deputy speaker. And at issue for you was that Section 36 of the Constitution was amended. You're saying that was not sufficient, and you had to amend Section 30 that was warranted and also to be followed by a national referendum. So what the government did in the end was to nominate backbencher Dr. Kenny Anthony as Deputy Speaker of the House. Were you surprised by how things turned out?
No, but I'm very happy because...
Why weren't you surprised before you move on?
Because that was always an option. You know, once they had accepted that the possibility existed that the amendments that they made were not sufficient and that it could be perceived, in my mind, it would be, that the parliament would have been illegal and therefore any bills that it would have passed would have been null and void. And the danger that would have created, particularly with the estimates coming up. Because if in fact they had attempted to challenge the legality of our assessment without getting the advice of the appeals court, and therefore had just gone on their own, and that we then would have challenged it legally, it would have put the country in a significant quagmire, because it would have meant that the estimates would not have been approved legally, and therefore government was not legally able to spend money on salaries or anything else, and there would have been breach of the Finance Act. So I'm happy that the government took our advice in the spirit in which it came, because I could have easily waited and not said anything and have allowed them to proceed down their merry way and come after the fact. But I didn't want to put St. Lucia in that position. I certainly wanted to give them an opportunity, if in fact it was an oversight on their part,
but
to correct the situation.
Equally to me, the government could have decided, and I know it's a stretch, to ask one of the cabinet ministers to resign and to take up the post of deputy speaker, instead of passing on that responsibility to Dr. Kenny Anthony, considering that he is a former St. Lucia prime minister, considering also that soon after the last general election, he decided not to take up any portfolio, not to be a part of the government, the cabinet, sorry, of ministers.
Look, it would be wrong on my part or anybody else's part to try to anticipate what decision the government is going to make. That's their prerogative, as long as they're not in breach of the act. And we gave them two ways out. One was to go to do what's called an Attorney General's reference, meaning there's a special provision that allows the Attorney General to go to the appeals court and to get the interpretation of the Constitution, if in fact there's dilemma. The same thing that they did with regards to the referendum needed for the moving from the to the CCJ, if you remember. Once they're going to act within the Constitution, it's their prerogative. It's not for me to guess. Like you, I heard a whole bunch of names.
I am just surprised because I heard so many names, so many people who were earmarked to serve as the deputy speaker.
Well, look, the opening intro of your show has the same person saying, "Never be surprised what happens in politics."
Let's listen to that clip. And this is not anything else coordinated. We have the clip. Let's listen to Dr. Kenny Anthony.
For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics. For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics. For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
Yeah.
This one caught me off guard, and I think this one caught many people off guard as well in St. Lucia, maybe beyond the shores of this country.
Well, look, and it was within their purview to do that.
But you got a wind of it at all? You got any wind of it?
I did.
Okay.
I did. But look, I'm just very happy for St. Lucia that the government listened and took our advice and recognized that they would be making a mistake by bringing a person from the outside. That's the sole purpose of our intervention was really that. And again, I want to say, the framers of the Constitution made it very clear, in our opinion, that adding any new members to the House, other than through being elected in a constituency, that the parliamentarians themselves cannot make that decision. And therefore, the provision of the referendum was to say you must go to the people to seek the people's approval to do that. And I think that hopefully our letter and our letters to other institutions help bring clarity to that issue. And I think for the sake of St. Lucia, the sake of our democracy, the sake of rule of law, for the sake of our Constitution, that I'm very happy that the government did the right thing and chose a member from within the House.
Why do you think that the government erred in that regard? I mean, in the absence of your letter, wanting to proceed on the basis of having amended Section 36 of the Constitution?
That's a great question. It's 3 years into this government's administration. And as I brought up in the House yesterday, Tim, this government, particularly the Prime Minister and some of his members, continuously and deliberately mislead the members in the House in itself, as well as the general public. We saw the allegations before the elections about corruption at the Rodney Bay Road. To only find out now that they have aired, and they're going to cost taxpayers of this country millions of dollars, and they cannot even compensate the taxpayers, the drivers, for the inconvenience that's been created over the last 3 years. HI Airport, they've deceived the people of St. Lucia. St. Jude's Hospital, they've deceived the people of St. Lucia. Banan's Land, they've deceived the people of St. Lucia. The GPH deal, they have deceived the people of St. Lucia. The loan that they got from both the CDB and the World Bank were conditional to the 2.5% levy. They deceived the people. They told the people that this was for them, this was for health and security, when all along it was a condition to the loan. So I say this to you to say that this government in opposition argued that we were in breach of the Constitution as it pertained to the Deputy Speaker, right? And said that they, in their interpretation of the Constitution, that the Deputy Speaker needed to come from the government side, not from the House. And that if, in fact, a Deputy Speaker resigned, they felt that the Deputy Speaker should be replaced immediately. So the question is, if that is what you believed, and that was your moral compass, and you came to the House to amend the Constitution, why didn't you amend it to say that? So instead of saying that the Deputy Speaker must be elected among the members of the House, why didn't you just simply say that the Deputy Speaker must come from the government side? And then you added the part to say that it must be immediate. So you amended that part of the Constitution that we must have a Deputy Speaker. So I have to ask the government, why would you have gone and made the amendment and gone through all of that to say that you can bring a Deputy Speaker from outside the House, and then want to stand in the House yesterday and say, oh, you don't know where I got the idea or anybody else got the idea. They were intending to bring the person from outside the House.
But you think that changes will be made subsequently to facilitate somebody coming from outside the island's parliament to serve as a Deputy Speaker?
Well, I'm based on what happened yesterday and based on the response that the Attorney General gave me on Friday, acknowledging our letters and agreeing that they would seek an Attorney General's reference to the appeals court. So subject to the decision, hopefully, of the appeals court, the opinion of the appeals court, they will find out whether they can or not. So either we're wrong and a whole bunch of other lawyers are wrong, and in fact they don't need to amend Section 30, or we're right and they would need to amend Section 30. And it's very clear in the Constitution that Section 30 is a protected provision, and in order to change it, it requires a referendum. And as I said to you, I want us to all understand what that means. It means that adding any new members to the House cannot be done simply by a 2/3 majority of the parliamentarians. The parliamentarians themselves cannot approve the increase in the size of the House, and it requires the approval of the public. So if they're going to want to eventually change it, in my opinion, they're going to have a referendum. But they're saying that they have their new Deputy Speaker in the name of the former Prime Minister of St. Lucia. He seems very comfortable in his role.
You really believe that he's comfortable in his role, moving from the Prime Minister of this country, an esteemed individual, to one who decided not to be a part of this cabinet for whatever reason, now to be, I think, I'll use the word, to be forced to take up the position of Deputy Speaker. I don't think he did that on his own volition. I think he took one for the team.
Well, it's not for us to speculate. The government likes to cause us to speculate. But I think that the only person that can really answer that question is the former Prime Minister himself, Dr. Anthony. He's going to have to explain. Yesterday, maybe he gave us the explanation that all of a sudden now he becomes relevant in his own government. That he said he was looking forward to being on the seat and being able to ask questions of persons that he normally could not ask, right? We saw a very dangerous precedent being established yesterday, and hopefully we'll have time to discuss that, which is the government guarantee for the NLA to borrow $80 million. But
before we go into that,
but remember what he said. He said he wants $10 million for the marshalling grounds. So all of a sudden, being a backbencher is very difficult. And a backbencher, for your audience's sake, is a person who's in Parliament, who is a member of the government but doesn't hold any kind of portfolio. It's very difficult. Now, you would have thought, given his experience, his seniority in the party, that he would have had maybe more leverage. So maybe he's taking up this position in the hopes that it's going to give him some more leverage to get some more work for his constituency.
How much is taken from you in terms of focus, in terms of your energy, in terms of financial resources to always be challenging the government on legal grounds, as opposed to the government taking some of your advice, the concerns that you're bringing before them, and accepting it for what it is and giving credence to it?
I've said this to some of my friends. I'm going to say this to you and to your audience. And this is not me being facetious or trying to give comfort to myself. I really have learned a lot in opposition. Opposition has forced me.
Every opposition leader say the same thing.
It's amazing. It's you're forced to look at things like the Constitution and law and processes because you don't have the leverage, right? We're in the minority in the Parliament. You're not going to get anything really done by, do the ayes have it? The ayes have it. So the question is, you have to sharpen your arguments. You have to strengthen your messaging, and you have to become very persistent, and you have to develop the confidence of civil society and other persons that when you write them, that you're writing them with facts. So it really has caused me and the party to hone our skills in that regard. In terms of time, a lot of time, and in terms of resources, and I think that that's a big beef. It's if I was not in the financial position and with the support of my wife and my family, I could not have taken up these legal challenges. And then where would we be? So you have the legal challenge that we had when they tried to send me to the Privileges Committee in breach of the process, when they attempted to expel me from the House indefinitely. And the judicial review that's going on with the control of customs and the decision to dismiss a case, the Boundaries Commission report. All of those things are constitutional matters, are government matters, and are having to be funded privately. And Rick, we don't agree on everything, but there's some things that we do agree on, and that's one of them. There should be a provision that when the leader of the opposition's office is taking up a legal challenge, that there should be resources made available to that office to be able to do these. Sometimes I'm upset, disturbed by even the court's own reaction sometimes to the importance of these cases. And when costs are assigned sometimes, it's almost like you're penalizing the person for wanting to challenge the Constitution matter. I would like to think that the opposition's office is not being used as a political football, but simply there to oppose, to question, to probe, and to force clarity on issues. And I think that I have a much greater understanding of the role of the opposition. And I certainly know that if I'm given the opportunity to be back in government in this country, I will treat the opposition very differently. Very, very, very. They have a constitutional role to play. It's enshrined in our Constitution. And again, the framers of the Constitution, Tim, create balance in our system. It's easy or it's not easy. It's possible for a political party to win more than 2/3 of the seats in the lower house, like we've seen today, 15-2. This doesn't matter how many seats you win in the House. In the upper house, everybody gets the same number of seats. 6 for the government, 3 for the opposition, and very importantly, 2 for the independents. It is important that we recognize that the independent senators are independent. Because if in fact there is a constitutional amendment being brought to the House, it requires both independent senators to vote for it. If only one does not vote, it does not get the 2/3 majority. So you see, the balance of power is very much shaped legally in the upper house, and the upper house plays a role in getting certain bills passed. But it's important that those independent senators are genuinely independent. So for instance, in Belize as an example, the independent selectors are selected by civil society. So the Governor General goes to civil society and say, can you please nominate people? Is that what's being done here? How are our independent senators being selected? And do our independent senators realize that they must live up to the name of independent senators?
It is being suggested is through civil society. But is that really the case?
You know,
reference being made to the trade unions and the NGO community and etc.
I'm not going to say yea or nay because I don't have any proof one way or the other. But I would say to, regardless of who is nominated, that those persons must maintain their independence. Because for our democracy to work, for our Constitution, the spirit of the Constitution to work, they must act independently. And I think that sometimes we give people too much benefit of the doubt, that when they're given that discretion, we don't challenge how they came to that decision. And I think that even though you're independent or you're a permanent secretary, a controller of customs, a DPP, all those persons in our Constitution are given a lot of autonomous decision making. It doesn't mean that they're not accountable to us. They still have to explain to us that an average man reasonably can accept that that was the right decision to make, and that they were acting in the interest of the people.
The other issue, you made reference to treatment of the opposition, do things differently if ever you become Prime Minister of St. Lucia again. What would you do differently in terms of your treatment of the opposition? And maybe you could cite a few examples of maybe your ill treatment of the opposition whilst you were Prime Minister. I suspect we have some internet problems, so we're trying to rectify it so more people can log on to the NewsSpin Facebook page as well as the YouTube channel. Go ahead.
I absolutely believe that the decorum in Parliament needs to be better. Right? And trying to deflect from the questions that are being asked, I think that when you're in government, the onus is on the government to answer all the questions and to provide the information because they have access to it. So regardless of how difficult and how offensive you may think a question coming from the opposition is, let the public be the determinant as to whether that's a relevant question or not. And that we have to provide that information. Similarly though, when a question is answered, it should not be right for anyone, including the opposition, to continue to ask the same question and as if it's not been answered. And I know that there are examples of that. So absolutely the decorum in the House is something that I certainly was, as political leader, would cause there to be less time for the politicking and the peacock. That's for the platform. When we're in the House...
But can you alone make a difference when you have different MPs in the Parliament have different personalities and different dispositions?
I think the political leader has a significant amount of influence. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I think it's to set that example, right? And I think that in order for our Constitution to work better and for us to have better representation, that we need to do that, right? So the fact is the rules in the House are not there to protect people. The rules in the House are to make sure that the information is being delivered in a truthful and proper way to the public, right? It's not being tainted, overly politicized. And it's tough because a lot of persons have come accustomed to that kind of banter in the House, but I'm not so sure that it serves the public and it serves the development of our country in the right way. It may make Parliament boring, right? But I think that it's probably going to cause people to find better ways to describe bad behavior.
But shouldn't the people nation as opposed to you? Do you think that all the grandstanding that is taking place because people know that they have to play to their base? That is what the supporters expect of them. They're ginning up their supporters.
Mm-hmm. I understand, but I'm just saying to you, Parliament is a very sacred place. It's very important. That's why there's a record of everything that's being said. That's why certain people, persons, particularly the opposition, all members, are protected in what they can say so we can have a real discussion. I would say to you, in going around St. Lucia, I've not found a lot of people that think that Parliament is very useful.
Yeah.
Okay? So, there's an old saying that if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, don't expect a different result. I'm not saying to you that what I'm proposing is going to work, but I think it's worth a try to try something different. Another big issue, Tim, I think, is subcommittees. I don't think that we're using the process of subcommittees well enough. I had the opportunity, and I want to thank the Speaker of the House for allowing me to go to Trinidad to do training on the Public Accounts Committee. And I learned a lot. The Public Accounts Committee is not there to hold ministers accountable. But that's what everybody thinks it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, go after him. No. Public Accounts Committee meets after the Auditor General does a report. So what happens is the Public Accounts Committee is supposed to take that auditor report, understand what the Auditor General opinion was, what recommendations are, determine for themselves whether it was sufficient and the Auditor General themselves did a proper job, what the recommendations are, and are they being followed up on. And so it really is holding the civil servants more accountable because they're not supposed to be under the influence of a minister. Okay, a permanent secretary is called the chief accounting officer for the ministry, not from a dollars and cents, but from a process perspective. There is no contract that you're going to find with any minister's name on it. The minister is simply to be able to make recommendations and give policy direction. It's the public servants who make sure that what is being done is that the public purse and the laws, the public purse of the taxpayers' money, the taxpayers are you and everybody else, their money is being spent appropriately and legally, as well as that the most efficient processes are being adopted to make sure that government is running efficiently. So again, I intend to, with the support of the Speaker, choose one of the auditor reports that have been done and call for a Public Accounts Committee meeting so we can begin the process. And when we sit on a Public Accounts Committee, we're not sitting there as the opposition and government. We're sitting as parliamentarians. And there's a role for parliamentarians that has been lost. And it's been lost because and the majority of parliamentarians who sit in Parliament are also in Cabinet. Cabinet's a very different role to Parliament. This is why constituency branches are supposed to be of the same size, that each parliamentarian is representing the same number of people. And when you go to Parliament, you represent not Labour and not Flabo, you represent every single person in your constituency. Now, Groselet or Groselians may have a very different sense of a project or spending than people in Anse-Marie-Canries. Your job is to make sure that the sentiments of the citizens from your constituency are represented. And so you don't just willy-nilly support something because you support it in Cabinet. But I think that that's a maturity and an evolution that needs to take place in our country. And hopefully civil society understands its role in that, in making sure that the institutions that we have are working properly. The people by themselves have not created strong enough advocacy groups.
But you talk about civil society, and you do that constantly, and I do it from time to time on NewsSpin as well. But is there really a civil society in St. Lucia? And if there is it active or is it in a comatose state? I mean, compared to what you know obtains in Barbados, in Trinidad, in Jamaica, there's so much checks and balances. So if the opposition falls short, if the government does not do what it has to do, then you know that you have the private sector organization of Jamaica. You have a very active and vibrant bar association over in Jamaica. Barbados, you have manufacturers association, and they sometimes act in unison. Compared to St. Lucia, you seldom hear about any such interest groups speaking out or lending their voices to certain things, or even clarifying or calling the authorities to clarify certain things.
So I think that that's where the media plays a role. I think where the general public plays a role. If you're going to be an association, to me, that there's a responsibility on your part to make sure that you're dedicating enough resources for that. So I'm not picking them, but Bar Association, do they have a secretariat? Do they have a full-time secretary? Do they have full-time staff?
But it appears when they're convenient, they get the resources to speak out and to issue press releases.
No,
on
they
certain
don't
things.
need those resources. They're using their platform to speak out. But the question is that coming from a good place? So let me give you an example. When there was the labor code, all the private sector groups got together and agreed to put resources together to hire an accounting firm and a law firm to give them advice. Yeah, because none of them had that capacity. Brian, Louisi, and Aziz and Paula James by themselves could not have
But
articulated that.
Don't you think it's a case, Mr. Chasney, of those entities looking after their interests? They're looking inward, as opposed to taking on positions that would benefit the wider, the good of the society as a whole.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying to you, is that we, the media, you, the media, the public, and politicians must equally hold civil society to the hands to the fire. If you want a place at the table, then you have to come prepared and show that you're able to do that. So it's an audit. Okay, are they real? Okay, is the Chamber of Commerce? It's changed. In the old days, the Chamber of Commerce was made up of owners, right? And they had a very different perspective. Today, it's professionals, because they have a lot of larger corporations. Is a professional person going to take the same kind of public stance as if it was owners, right? So the entity has changed. It doesn't mean that the importance of their voice is not as important, but we need to question, have they applied themselves and the resources to come up with an opinion? But more importantly, what I'm speaking of specifically is our Constitution, our checks and balances in our system, to make sure that those things are done. So if a government is in any way trying to override the checks and balances in our systems, or to use their majority in the House to just bulldoze things through, there has to be some resistance. Yeah, and ultimately, at the end of the day, they must recognize if monies are being misspent, if laws are being abused, and if the system is breaking down, it eventually is going to catch up with them. So they have an obligation, even for their own self-preservation, but more importantly, if we have a democratic system and we believe in all the values of democracy, then we almost play our part in helping maintain those standards.
So look up on the broadcast. The government is seeking to guarantee a loan on behalf of a statutory corporation, and the opposition has an issue with that. We'll be discussing that matter during the course of our program. We'll be hearing from you as well. Please bear with us, guys. Get the impression that Facebook is experiencing some technical issues, and not for the first time. I think just about the second time in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so. Please bear with us as you continue to monitor the broadcast via our Facebook page, as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel and Power 97.9 FM. My guest this afternoon is the leader of the parliamentary opposition and former Prime Minister, Mr. Alan Chasney. We'll be taking your calls in just a moment.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbuta at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Lucilex remote options are available to serve you every weekday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call or send a WhatsApp message to 285-7859, 285-3593, 285-3329, or 285-8640, or send an email to customersupport@lucilex.com.
It's time to spice up your meals with KFC's March Madness special menu. Rally up for our crispy, delicious nugget. Grab 8 pieces for only $10, or elevate your meal with 12 pieces for $15. Snatch up our nugget combos, now serving 8 or 12 pieces with a biscuit, fries, and a drink. Buy from $22 to $17, or from $28 to $23. We've got the little ones covered with 5-piece nugget meal with a biscuit and drink, or twisted up with mac and cheese, each for a tiny price of $10 and $11. For the hearty eaters, 5 crispy strips served with fries and a drink are all yours for $20. It's a limited time feast. Make your way to KFC and treat yourself to these March Madness specials while they last. KFC, it's finger licking good.
In these modern times, the field of medicine has become so advanced that no one has to suffer any longer before they can be seen by a specialist doctor. La Clinique de Corps is proud to be the only healthcare provider in St. Lucia to offer the best and most experienced specialist doctors who are capable to first correctly diagnose and then successfully treat health conditions such as chronic back pain, spinal injury, sciatica, numbness, lupus, arthritis, joint pain, facial nerve pain, knee, heel, and shoulder pain, cramps, and carpal tunnel syndrome. Also available at La Clinique de Corps, complete nerve tests to detect nerve injury or muscle disease. All health insurances are accepted at La Clinique de Corps. So walk again pain-free with La Clinique de Corps. To book an appointment, please call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950.
Catch the new vibe and the lingo. More upon more so the tingo. Is more wet flow if you didn't know. All these deals is a winner. More upon more wet flow. More data, more talk for sure. More WhatsApp, video caster, unlimited talk so you not stop chat.
Flow prepaid combo plans just got better. Loaded with even more data and unlimited talk. Take advantage of WhatsApp and all its features with our new prepaid plans. Unleash your creativity with more social media. Dial *129 $sign to activate.
Now that's the new vibe in the lingo. Yes. More upon more so the tingo. Is more wet flow now you really know. Catch it now. All these deals make you save more. Get more.
Night Meds is your dependable neighborhood pharmacy. You'll notice that upon entry, you are greeted by caring professional staff, attentive to your every need. Your prescriptions are always treated with a high degree of confidentiality, and we pride ourselves on providing speedy, efficient service. We carry a wide array commonly requested over-the-counter products, and our prices are very competitive. We offer blood pressure testing, blood sugar, and cholesterol testing. We're open to fill your prescriptions Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come visit Sadu's gas station on the Miku Highway or call us at 572-6840 or WhatsApp 461-6840 for more information. Night Meds Pharmacy. We are your community med store.
Automotive art is a place place to start.
Shift into your savings gear this March at Automotive Art as we launch our March Madness sale. Pull up at any of our branches this March and save 20% off on all car accessories. Roll out with fantastic deals on tires of up to 30% off. And if you're missing some key tools for your toolkit, no problem. We're offering 15% off on all tools store-wide. But that's not all. Shop now and enjoy exclusive in-store specials on car care, lubricants, and more. Don't miss out on the action. The March Madness sale is happening right now at Automotive Art. Automotive Art. Your car, our passion. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Transforming St. Lucia through football innovation and excellence. The St. Lucia Semi-Pro Football League provides a pathway for the professional and personal development of young footballers, leading to community enhancement across Ireland.
Great opportunity.
In 2024, 10 district leagues will compete for the Premier Cup and 9 district leagues will face off for the Super Cup. 81 games in 4 venues. Come support your community as you witness the first ever St. Lucia Semi-Pro Football League Championships. Competitive football, passionate players, and striking goals.
And it's
in collaboration with the government of St. Lucia and the St. Lucia Football Association, the Semi-Pro Football League is leveraging football to transform lives.
And so the referee brings the 90 minutes to an end.
Members, you may elect your deputy speaker.
Mr. Speaker, it has always been the policy and the philosophical position of governments to follow the Constitution. This country, under the last government, operated for 5 years without a deputy speaker. We spoke about it, and we promised the electorate that when in government, we would ensure that there was a deputy speaker. We kept our promise, and we caused that promise to be put in the Constitution of St. Lucia. The deputy speaker at the time, the Honorable Jeremiah Norbert, was elected by me to be a minister of government, and he had to resign from a deputy speaker position. I informed the public of St. Lucia that at the next sitting of this honorable house, we would have elected a deputy speaker. And the deputy speaker would have been either from inside the house or outside the house. Either a member of the house or a member who is not presently a member of the house. I never made any statement to say that the deputy speaker would be a member not in the house. I said it would be a member either in the house or out of the house. You check the press statement, you will see what I said. So the misinformation continues. I never said that the deputy speaker would come from out of the house. I never said so. So, Mr. Speaker, it's my honor and my privilege to nominate Dr. Kenny Davis Anthony as Deputy Speaker.
Are there any other nominees?
Cassie second.
Oh, member for Cassie South.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the nomination.
So noted. Are there any other nominees? If there are no other nominees, I hereby declare the member. So yes, member for Castle Central.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to nominate the member for Miku South to be the deputy speaker.
Well, you can't nominate the leader of the opposition, who also happens to be the member from Miku South. If there are no other nominees, I hereby declare the member for Viewfort South elected Deputy Speaker unopposed.
First, the nomination and election of Dr. Kenny Anthony to the post of Deputy Speaker of the St. Lucia House of Assembly. Going forward, Mr. Chasney, therefore, in the event you become Prime Minister, what will happen with regard to the post of Deputy Speaker? Is it too early to speak about this? Would you proffer the opportunity to say, well, the law has been amended to facilitate or to allow somebody from outside to become the Deputy Speaker, and therefore you would go through the Constitution and make the necessary changes if you have a two-thirds majority?
But the law has not been amended. The only part of the law that's been amended is for there to be an immediate appointment of the House, of a Deputy Speaker. And because of that, it may cause now the government side to have to appoint a Deputy Speaker of the House. Otherwise, the House would not be able to
But why do you
function.
think there's somebody who is not a parliamentary secretary or minister, but an elected member should serve? So it comes from, that individual comes from either side, either the opposition side or the government side. Everybody wants to be a minister?
So historically, where that comes from is exactly what happened in the House yesterday, where I think that the government was embarrassed by having to recognize they were proposing, there was an intention to possibly go the wrong way. So this comes back to times where when the first Parliament meeting was taking place, it's a technicality that you must have a Deputy Speaker. And so on occasion, a new government has been found wanting, meaning all of a sudden they've appointed everybody, they don't have a Deputy Speaker, and they have to suffer the embarrassment of having a minister resign at that spot. So this is all about PCOM. From a practical perspective, what does a Deputy Speaker do? A Deputy Speaker there is to, I don't mean it in a bad way, to relieve the Speaker. Doesn't even get to sign, right? And that's why I think that the framers of the Constitution said at the first sitting of the House you need a Deputy Speaker. But if in fact a Deputy Speaker resigns, you are to appoint a new one at its earliest convenience. If in fact no member of the House wants to take up the role of the Deputy Speaker, then it's not convenient, but it's not going to encumber the House from proceeding.
But if there's a kind of abuse there, so it would take probably the death of another speaker for another speaker to be appointed, somebody else to serve in that post. But
no,
the Deputy Speaker position therefore will continue to remain vacant.
No, the Speaker of the House is a very clear position. Anytime that the government wants to change the Speaker of the House, well, they can. Well, after they've appointed him, if in fact
after he's been elected.
After he's been elected, he's there.
Right.
You cannot, as a Prime Minister, you cannot ask him to resign. Or if you do, you have to do it quietly behind the scenes, and hopefully he voluntarily does that. But if a speaker does not want to resign, there's only conditions.
If he's elected, can you not decide to vote him out? He can be voted out.
Yes, you can be voted out by the House. Yes,
you can be.
But again, you're really talking about a vote of no confidence in your speaker, who was originally nominated by you.
Yeah.
So I think that politically, people try to stay away from that. So a lot of this is more about politics and charade than it is about really the actual fact of the importance a Deputy Speaker plays.
But I think it's also about, Mr. Chastain, people not wanting to serve the country at whatever level that they're given. They want it to be grand. They want to be minister of this and minister of that and not want to be Deputy Speaker. Primarily, they tell you they have invested so much. They took the risk of contesting elections. They have won their seat. And somehow, their constituents expect them to be a government minister, as if that's the only way that somebody can serve their constituents effectively.
And that's real. And I think that, 17 constituencies, the size of our parliament, whether you expand it to 21 or 23, it's still a small number. And this is where, again, I think that the shaping of our Constitution is important. The question is who should be the persons helping us to do that. We've had now 45 years under our belt. I mean, I think that there are enough people here who've had enough experience with our Constitution make some of those subtle changes. I mean, Canada is an example. Trudeau, after 250 years, decided to write a new constitution for Canada. And up to today, that constitution has not been fully approved because Quebec has never consented to all of the changes. So they've allowed a process where they can have the new constitution, and Quebec kind of stays in the limbo with a lot of the elements because Quebec was trying to protect its French heritage. Amending a constitution once we're in a country of where people have benefits already, any kind of changes that are going to affect those who have is always going to be a fight. And that's where the level of maturity is required. So right now, they have amended the Constitution, the part that they can amend, to say that you must have somebody immediately. I have no qualms with that and would not make any changes to that issue. But again, when I say I'm Alan Chasney, this is something that certainly that the United Workers' Party as a group would have to contemplate moving forward.
The loan taken by the government guaranteeing a loan on behalf of the St. Lucia Lotteries Authority, National Lotteries. What say you to this?
So again, I want to say this, that my comments are in the context of what has been happening. The government, on every occasion that they come to the House or speak into public about public projects, have never revealed or said the entire truth. In fact, there are a lot of half-truths that have gone into it. We saw it with St. Jude's. The argument is that the Saudis said that they should stay in the old building. Right? We really believe that? Is there any documentation to support that? How could Saudi Arabia, progressive country, modern hospitals, want to say to St. Lucia, don't go into a modern hospital, go back into an old hospital? What happened at St. Jude's and the over-expenditure? A lot of different stories. You appoint a committee of people who are not paid, who clearly had a very strong position leading up to the elections as to what they thought. You thought that their position was going to be any different after they got access to the hospital? The HIA airport. I mean, I listened to the nonsense the Prime Minister was saying yesterday about he's never heard where we've gotten a loan and the loan has been assigned to a specific contractor. The Taiwanese provided the loan in order to have a project that was shrouded in controversy, was to take it out of that comments. Take a construction company that was both public-private sector, meaning that it was a private sector company in its innovation, but it had public sector investment through the government of Taiwan, right? An independent entity to make those decisions. You want to come now and say that that was a bad decision? And what, to justify, to do what? What's going to be the solution to the problem? Rodney Bay Road, you said that there was corruption. You said it never was approved by the ministry or overseen by the Ministry of Infrastructure. The sign is still there. When you go by past, what's the name of the hotel? Harbor Club. The sign is there. The Ministry of Infrastructure was involved. It was the Ministry of Infrastructure that caused the roundabout to change from MJI to the Aquatic Center entrance. All right? And it was a fixed contract for $15 million. You now have to go and pay the contractor who had to walk off the job. You have to now pay them for the work that was done instead of holding their hand to living up to the $15 million. And they're going to pay them in excess of $20 million. And how much more money is it going to cost you? The Banans land. I mean, I listened to Renault on your show. Now he's saying that there was a real estate agent that approached him. So who was the real estate agent? The minister said that he wanted to thank Catherine Seeley's for putting the deal together. Was she the real estate agent? And is there not a conflict of interest that she was a board member of National Housing? And who did they buy the building from? So after they got the money from the Banans land, the $2.7 million, they turned around and bought a building owned by whom? Petra Nelson, who is the lawyer of the housing and who's best friends with Catherine Seeley's. You have the GPH deal. $400 million of revenue and you got nothing? and you want to try to convince all of us that there's a good deal, and then all of a sudden friends and family members are getting jobs and contracts? How you want to convince us as citizens of this country there was any truthfulness to that? You have a situation where the Prime Minister introduces a levy of 2.5% and tells the people that this is for health and security. Make this, he looked everybody in the eye. Make the sacrifice. I know times are tough, but do that because this is to your benefit, to then find out that the condition to the loan was he had to pass the 2.5% levy. You still come to the House yesterday to get the $100 million from the World Bank. And you're not telling the people the truth. You now forget about what the conditions are. And you go and tell them, oh, it's to be able to do a tourism project. That's not what the press statement said. The press statement said this was for resilience building, okay, and for institutional bringing, institutional in finances. You're going to come, both cases, you come to the House to borrow money. You cannot speak in any level of detail as to how the money is going to be spent. You've negotiated the loan, you wanted the loan, and up to now you cannot tell the public of St. Lucia how you're going to spend the money. Now, I say that to you because, well, we just had the tape that you just showed about the Deputy Speaker of the House. The Prime Minister saying, oh, he never said he was going to bring somebody from outside the House. Really? So you went to the House, you changed the law, the Constitution, not just a law, not any ordinary law, a Constitution to bring somebody from outside the House. You go through all of this trial. You have press conferences, you have press statements coming out, all kinds of rumors flying out. Again, as the opposition, it wasn't for me to confirm that he was bringing from this side. We said in the letter, if it is your intention to do that, be mindful that the Constitution, the change you made in the Constitution is not sufficient to bring somebody from in the House. And if you do that, the House would be considered to be illegal. I say all of that because there's a pattern of behavior with this government that they never tell us the truth. So they came to the House yesterday to say that they're going to provide a guarantee to the national lotteries to borrow $80 million. And he said that this would be a contingent liability because these are sporting facilities that are being done. That's not true. It's a contingent liability because the government is providing the guarantee. So a contingent liability means it goes down as debt to the country. So I want to address a couple of things right off the bat. Alan Chastney, for sure, and United Workers' Party are very big supporters of the development of sports in this country. And we would never begrudge any sporting fraternity, any development that is going to help progress young people in their pursuit of becoming world champions or even using sports as a character developer. Okay? I laugh because even when I said I was captain of the national basketball team, the Labour Party tried to deny that that never happened. Like I never played sports. I don't understand what sports are about. So me on a personal basis, and certainly the party has a history. If you look at our track record in the last administration, $33 million was spent of Taiwanese money. So when we got the Taiwanese money, instead of considering it on a yearly basis, I considered it for the 5 years. So we got $33 million of grant money from the Taiwanese, okay, to build the Soufriere Stadium, track and football field, Deriso, Miku, Denry, lights, plus the Groselet playing field, plus lights at La Fag, and there was a whole bunch of other playing facilities that lights were put on or the grounds were improved. Canneries, the list is too long for me to remember. All the things that we did with that money. So we believe in sports. The Groselet Sports Academy was recognizing that team sports would be improved, our success would improve, our rate of success would improve by the teams living together and being able to practice together. And that the best coaches, both in terms of physical training, nutritional, psychological, would also be a place where all the persons who are coaching around the island can go to get trained, because the best of the best was there. So it wasn't just for the student athletes, but it was also to be a training facility for the coaches. And we believed that the model in St. Lucia that we wanted to emulate was the aquatic center. 7 clubs at the aquatic center, sharing one 25-meter pool. Primary school, secondary school, right? Beginning, intermediate, advanced. And when they're doing competitions, it's the competitions that drives standards, right? Even when they had international competitions, you would take the best of the 7 clubs and make 3 teams. And therefore, if you bring 3 teams from outside, you already have 6 teams that are participating. We've seen the success. I mean, how many St. Lucians now have gotten scholarships through sporting? Every day you open up the papers, you see the success of our things. But also one of the successes of the Aquatic Center is the parents' participation. You know, you'll remember me when I was at the Gardens, right? And as an athlete here. We had to do everything. We had to find the money to pay the lights. We had to find the money and the resources to run the competition by ourselves. Even when you went on national, the government didn't give you the money for the passages. You had to go and raise money to pay your own passage to go abroad, all right? And I said, this must change. An athlete must focus on being an athlete, and we have to bring our parents, their parents and the older athletes into the game, into the facility, and have a properly programmed facility. So I say that because I want it to be very clear that anything I'm saying is not being critical of how the money is being spent and what the money is being spent on, or I should say what is being spent on rather than how. The second thing that I think that's very important to say is that the justification for giving the guarantee to NLA, which the government is certainly entitled to provide any guarantee to any statutory agency, particularly a government statutory agency. But to make the comparison to say that because a guarantee was given to SLASPA for the airport, that is the same as giving the guarantee for the NLA. It's not true. SLASPA owns millions, billions of dollars of assets in St. Lucia, have forever done projects. The chairman of SLASPA is the director of finance. The deputy chair of SLASPA is the permanent secretary of administrative infrastructure. Okay? There is an accounting firm, there are engineers, they have an entity that's designed to earn money and to invest money and to oversee construction. The NLA is not. In fact, the NLA's track record is not good. And this government has a lot to blame for that.
What do you prefer to happen in the case of this loan, $80 million loan? You think it should have been given to the Youth and Sports Department or Ministry to utilize?
I cannot tell the government where to put the money. But what I would say to you is that if the government is going to provide a guarantee, it means that they could have taken the loan anywhere because it's the taxpayers' money that's ultimately at stake. What has happened by them going to the NLA, Tim, is that they have bypassed the Finance Act. What do I mean by that? NLA doesn't fall under the Finance Act. What's the procurement procedures the NLA has? So SLASPA, as an example, if they're going to do a project, there's very well regulated and articulated process for bidding processes. Everything has to be done in a transparent way. NLA has not even kept up to date on its one financial requirement, which is to have an audit. Okay? So you're now going to take $80 million, put it into an entity that falls outside of the Finance Act, falls outside of the consolidated account, with no rules and regulations. So what was the allegation against NLA to begin with? The minister's account. So when Sean wants to stand up in the House and talk about disown or distance himself from the minister's account, in May of 2012, he wrote the letter to the NLA indicating them that the money needed to be divided in three ways, and one of those ways, an account that would be accessible by the minister. In the minutes of the NLA meeting, right, it was confirmed that they had the meeting with the minister, and a separate account was done. There's records to show where and how that money was spent. So in fact, of almost $5 million that the minister's account had over a period of time, $3 million of it was spent in the last 5 months leading up to the election. That raises all kinds of red flags. So has anything improved in the NLA? The NLA is a statutory body that was established to run gaming. And the money that they got was intended to be contributions to different organizations. Football, netball, track, whatever. And so all they had to do is keep a record of who they sent it to and that these were official organizations recognized by the government. There's not a lot of auditing that's required on that. That was a gift that they were given. When you now put $80 million in, who is going to select the contractors? And you have a situation that we know today. Has work begun at Mindoo Park? The Prime Minister said yes. Has work begun at the Darren Sammy Stadium? The answer is yes. So you're coming to the House after the fact? All of these things are things that should disturb people tremendously. There's something wrong. There's something fundamentally wrong. And what makes it worse is because of the government's track record with the truth and transparency. And it would appear that what they're attempting to do here is to bypass all transparency, all forms of accountability, put it into an organization that does not have the capacity to oversee the expenditure of $80 million. Even the work that they've done today, can they account for it? How was the contractor selected? Was it put out to bid? Does that contractor have a previous track record in putting those things together? Did they say, okay, no, we're going to allow the Ministry of Infrastructure to oversee the project for us? Who is overseeing it? The one time that they had people to oversee projects, the person was whom? Joachim Henry. They paid his company over $250,000 to provide oversight and designs for 25 projects. He was paid in full. His company was paid in full. And the projects were never completed. So that is the kind of autonomy that exists in the NLA, because when you go and you look at the act for the NLA, it is broad because it was never designed to do that. It only had bylaws and rules pertaining to what it was expected to do. Hold the people, the lottery providers accountable in terms of auditing their books and agreeing on a list of charities that you're going to give money to. You're now going to say you're going to take $80 million. Now, here's the problem. That's a serious problem. How much money does NLA earn a year? $7.5, $8 million in revenue a year? And the loan repayment is $7 million a year. $600,000 a month. So you've now depleted the NLA of all of its financial resources. So what's going to happen to all the programs the NLA has? What's the point of the board? What's the point of the staff now? How does the LNA function when all of its money for the next 15 years, $600,000 a month for 15 years? That's why they had to come to the government to get a guarantee. Because there's no way that the NLA had sufficient resources to borrow that kind of money. So why would the government do that? What is the government trying to hide? What are they trying to do? And I have to have those questions in my mind because the pattern of behavior has been very clear that this government deceives people. Every time you turn around, they say, no. And then all of a sudden you provide the evidence and then they say, oh, I never said it like that. Really? So I want to put all of us on alert. This is a major alarm bell should be going off. And the same way that there was a minister's account, are we now creating a cabinet account? Is it that cabinet now has won a lottery and they have $80 million? I don't know. But I can ask the question because I've seen that happen before. And I question why would you allow the NLA to borrow $80 million? And particularly if you want to say these are for state assets. The assets don't even belong to the NLA, Tim. the Grosley Stadium, the Mindu Phillip Park, none of them belong to them. Why didn't you do it through the Castries Council, who also have revenue? Because the Castries Council ultimately is in charge of all of those facilities. You have Sports Inc., another disaster. So I left that house after hearing the statements, and I think that persons who would have listened to what I had to say in the house, with many more questions and a lot of concerns as to what is transpiring. And I intend to write, again, civil society and many different stakeholders to alert them to what is taking place. And I think that the government owes it to us immediately to provide a detailed breakdown of what are the projects you're going to fund, who are the contractors, and what is the auditing processes, the accountable processes that you're going to put in place. Are you going to, because you're giving the guarantee, you're going to tell NLA now that you have to follow the government's rules of procurement? Are you going to ask that the Director of Finance and the Ministry of Finance provide direct oversight? Or are you going to provide a little committee that oversees the contracts they're going to do so that there's some accountability to the taxpayers who are flipping this bill? These are great questions. These are important questions. And instead of answering them, the government wants to throw all kinds of allegations. That's what they love to do, is to spin the whole thing, deflect, and say, oh, you did this and you did that and blah, blah, blah. I'm answerable to everything and anything. But don't try to get off the track. The same thing that happened with the Deputy Speaker of the House, the same thing that's happening with St. Jude's, the same thing that happens with Bonanza Land, the same thing that happened with GPH. All around this country, we see how the state's assets are being mismanaged and they're circumventing transparency and accountability.
We'll hear from you in just a bit as you continue to monitor NewsSpin on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on the NewsSpin YouTube channel and the NewsSpin Facebook page.
There is only one option when they arrive. Our services will make the dead look alive. With Bouteille and Beaufort accessibility. Remember, we have the only private cemetery. No one can match our prices from coffins to corsage. Personalized service you get when Lazarus take charge. Quality service, no package to make your wallet bleed. Lazarus is your true friend in your time of need.
Lucilex remote options are available to serve you every weekday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call or send a WhatsApp message to 285-6796, 285-7859, 285-3593, 285-3329, or 285-8640. Or send an email to customersupport@lucilec.com for assistance. Lucilec encourages you to use the available options for doing business with us remotely.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Catch the new vibe and the lingo. More upon more so the tingo. Is more with flow if you didn't know. All these deals is a winner. More upon more with flow. More data, more talk for sure. More WhatsApp, video caster, unlimited talk, so you not stop chat.
Flow prepaid combo plans just got better. Loaded with even more data and unlimited talk. Take advantage of WhatsApp and all its features with our new prepaid plans. Unleash your creativity with more social media. Dial *129 to activate.
Now that's the new vibe in the lingo. Yes. More upon more, see how the tingo. It's more with flow, now you really know. Catch it now. All these deals make you save more. Get more.
In these modern times, the field of medicine has become so advanced that no one has to suffer any longer before they can be seen by a specialist doctor. La Clinique de Corps is proud to be the only healthcare provider in St. Lucia to offer the best and most experienced specialist doctors who are capable to first correctly diagnose and then successfully treat health conditions such as chronic back pain, spinal injury, sciatica, numbness, lupus, arthritis, joint pain, facial nerve pain, knee, heel and shoulder pain, cramps and carpal tunnel syndrome. Also available at La Clinique de Corps, complete nerve tests to detect nerve injury or muscle disease. All health insurances are accepted at La Clinique de Corps. So walk again pain-free with La Clinique de Corps. To book an appointment, please call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950.
To start.
Shift into your savings gear this March at Automotive Art as we launch our March Madness sale. Pull up at any of our branches this March and save 20% off on all car accessories. Roll out with fantastic deals on tires of up to 30% off. And if you're missing some key tools for your toolkit, no problem. We're offering 15% off on all tools store-wide. But that's not all. Shop now and enjoy exclusive in-store specials on car care, lubricants, and more. Don't miss out on the action. The March Madness sale is happening right now at Automotive Art. Automotive Art, your car, our passion.
These March Madness special menu. Rally up for our crispy, delicious nugget. Grab 8 pieces for only $10 or elevate your meal with 12 pieces for $15. Snatch up our nugget combos, now serving 8 or 12 pieces with a biscuit, fries, and a drink. Buy it from $22 to $17 or from $28 to $23. We've got the little ones covered with 5-piece nugget meal with a biscuit and drink, or twisted up with mac and cheese, each for a tiny price of $10 and $11. For the hearty eaters, 5 crispy strips served with fries and a drink are all yours for $20. It's a limited time feast. Make your way to KFC and treat yourself to these March Madness specials while they last. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
On Easter Sunday, the biggest brunch party in the West returns. Rise 4, the celebration. Easter Sunday, March 31st, Soufre Mini Stadium. Featuring international sensation Tennyson John and the DJ Project live. Also, MTX, A1 Jugglers, Sir Lancelot, Hype Kid, DJ JH Indalo, Levi Chin, DJ Irv, Power FM DJs, MC Donnerville. Easter Sunday from 12 noon, we rise.
Look at people in here tonight.
Regular tickets are $80 and $350 for a VIP terrace area. Get your tickets online at www.fourcirclestickets.com. Mambo's Bar and Courts in Soufre and Courts Ready Cash island-wide. Get VIP and group tickets with no cash at Courts Ready Cash. Dress code Slay in Orange. Rise 4, the celebration, an Optimum event production. Platinum sponsors, Courts Ready Cash and Power 97.9 FM. Gold sponsor, Bank of St. Lucia. Other sponsors, Digicel, Piton Beer, Strongbow, and Island Sounds.
I am the whole blinking market.
In the heart of every community lies a dream waiting to come true as a journey begins. We dribble through life's hurdles, breaking down its barriers, looking beyond the horizon. Lessons are learned, friendships are forged, and strength is birthed from within. Beyond tactics and goals, we strive as a team. With discipline and perseverance, we advance. Through every kick, stumble, and victory, our lives are changing, and together we rise.
It's not just a game. Football is our life.
The St. Lucia Semi-Pro Football League, leveraging football to transform lives.
This is the most monitored talk show in the world. It's called NewsSpin. We take your calls right now at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. We're trying to take as many calls as possible. So please, in terms of your comments and your questions, ensure that your contribution is brief. My guest this afternoon is the leader of the parliamentary opposition, and that is Mr. Alan Shastny. Somebody says there, please ask Alan if Cage Gaming was given a tax VAT-free contract. If yes, why? Would that money help pay the loan guarantee?
There was an issue with Cage. So when Cage came in, and we must understand and appreciate the context again of where it came in. If you remember, Tim, there was a loan by Bank of Nova Scotia to the Darren Sammy Stadium. Do you remember that? And when they could not pay the loan, the bank was going to foreclose. Can you imagine? On Darren Sammy Stadium. So the agreement was that the loan would have been taken over by the national lotteries, and a company called Canadian Banknote, CBM, came in, and it was agreed that CBM would take over and pay the loan, and they would pay $25,000 a month to the NLA to cover their basic expenses. But they did not have to reveal what they were earning until the loan was paid off. We ended up bringing Cage in, and we used the fact that Cage was doing a different type of gaming, which was the lottery versus the Ving machine versus the lottery tickets. And Cage came in and eventually agreed to take over the loan. CBM's allocation to us went to almost $250,000 a month, and Cage was paying something like $300,000-$400,000 a month after they paid the loan. Cage brought up that what they expected, that the earnings that they had would have been tax-free, and therefore, if it was not tax-free, then they could not afford to pay the 20% commission. So it was a liability that they had, that it could have been argued either way as to who was liable for that money. I'm not sure how that eventually was settled, because that was being dealt with by the finance department and the attorney general's office and their lawyers. But I want to say this, that would not be sufficient to have disrupted the amount of money that the NLA is getting. The NLA is getting almost on a monthly basis in excess of $550,000. So somewhere between $550,000 and $700,000.
Hold on, we have a call from New York. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air. Go ahead with your contribution, caller. Hello. We can't hear the caller too clearly. Hello? Hello? Okay, we can't hear the caller too clearly. Continue to call us once again at 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, and that is 716-2026, and that is for my guest. Let's try again. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello? The call is just not too clear at all. Let's take another call, this time via the landline. This is NewsSpin. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. We'll try again. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to you. Quick comment or question?
Two questions and I'll hang up.
Yeah.
Recently, well, a few years ago, I heard Alan said that the opposition had lost its right to tell the government what to do. Has he changed his mind about that? And the answer about Cage is not clear, because the contract for Cage is 15 years.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon to you.
Thank you very much for those questions. I think, again, my comments are being taken completely out of context. When I said that the opposition had lost their right to speak, and that was on policy. Okay, so if you want to come and criticize our policies, you had just lost an election. Now, if you want to come and tackle us on legality, processes, and staying within the law, that's within your right, and I would never argue that. But we're talking about the development of View Fort, who, in our opinion, was underdeveloped. And so bringing Ojo Labs and bringing ITEL BPO and wanting to do the DSH and wanting to put in a proper international hospital in the south and wanting to do a cruise ship terminal in the south, right? Those days, I felt that the government, the opposition then had lost their voice to say that that was a bad policy. But if they thought we were doing anything illegally, I would never challenge any opposition on the constitutionality and the rule of law and implementation. But when it comes to policy and opinion, they had done nothing for View Fort. They've still not done. They've been there for 3 years. Nothing has happened in the south.
You have a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Yes, Tim. I have a caller for your guest.
A question.
A question for your guest.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. Shas.
Yes, sir.
If you're such a bad guy, like they want to make the whole world believe, why didn't you continue? Why didn't you allow the house to continue in its legality? Why didn't you allow the house to continue in its illegality and suffer the consequences?
All right, thank you so much for calling.
It's a great question. I mean, and that's what I said to you, Tim. So what was the other option? The other option was for me to have observed a constitutional conflict, a problem, say nothing, wait until they proceeded, and then now challenged it and caused them to have to reverse. And the problem is that the problems that it would have created, how do you cure those problems in hindsight? So that's why we felt it was very important to have said to them privately. I spoke and wrote. When we did not receive a response, we shared it publicly, not only with the public, but also with civil society, and gave the explanations that were provided to us by our lawyers as to what the legality of what was doing. And I'm just again glad that the government adhered to our concerns and have proceeded to keep the house legal.
You have another call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello? 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. We'll try again. Good afternoon. Hello?
Hi, Tim.
Hi, good afternoon, Eric. You'll have to try and be as brief as possible, Eric, this afternoon. Go ahead.
No, I won't bother. Let somebody else call.
No. We wanted to hear from Rick, but try to be as brief as possible because today we have time is against us and we have so many calls. Let's try WhatsApp. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air. Hello.
3 times journalist of the year. So Timothy Porter, good afternoon. Good afternoon to the world's greatest leader.
Quick comment or question? Quick question or comment? Mm-hmm.
Tim, I want St. Lucians to know that the great man, the world's greatest leader, Sir Alan Michael Shasta, he bats on any wicket. He bats well both home and away. The SFP Mongoose gang, they never come on your show. Why? And you are one of the country's leading journalists, and they never once come on your show. I have a problem with that. That's why they go wrong fooling St. Lucians. St. Lucians don't see those guys, don't come on your show. Why? Whether they're in opposition or they're in government, they never come on your show because they don't want you to ask them the pertinent questions. But the great man bats in India, Australia, he bats in Phillip Park, he bats everywhere.
Okay, caller, thank you so much. Let's see if we get some more calls. Once again, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. And of course, I'll try to see if I could go through some of the comments via your contributions.
While you're doing that, I mean, a very important question was asked in terms of what is it we can do as a general public if, in fact, we think what I've highlighted is egregious. You know, the World Bank loan that we just approved, and I just want to read one paragraph from it. And it says, to help St. Lucia tackle these challenges, the project will have 2 main pillars. That's the $100 million. The first pillar supports St. Lucia's reforms toward fiscal sustainability, increasing revenue and transparency, and managing resources more efficiently. This includes assistance for the implementation of a new fiscal policies announced by the government, such as the introduction of the Health and Citizen Act and raising taxes on cigarettes. Additionally, it will support the development and implementation of new regulations for public financial management, rules for public procurement, and the consolidation of the Public Debt Management Act. That's a condition to the loan. That's what the loan was intended to do. On the same day, the government would now go against the spirit of that by allowing NLA to borrow the money based on a government guarantee, so it becomes debt to the government, and bypassing all those same things that we're talking about.
452-2979, your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Once again, 716-2026. Let's take another call. Good afternoon, you're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon to Mr. Shasney.
Afternoon, sir.
Mr. Shasney, I would like you to move a motion in the government, in the parliament, that motion should be a motion to prevent any parliamentarian or cabinet member, whenever they fall sick, they should not be allowed to fly out of the country. But instead, they must go to the institutions locally that they provide for the people of St. Lucia. There should be a law for that, because many years ago, Bob Marley was interviewed and he was asked a question, Bob, what do you believe is the cause of all the crime and violence in St. Lucia, in Jamaica? You know what was his response? He said laws cause crime and violence, bad laws. Now, how could you, as government ministers who are responsible for providing proper health care to the citizenry, can just pick up a helicopter on taxpayers' money, go overseas, get a good treatment from Lamina at the box, yet people in St. Lucia must go through the pain and agony of going to a hospital where there is no medicine, nothing at all, to get care for their loved ones or themselves. Now, I have come to the conclusion, Mr. Shasti, that the people in the South, now I want to be specific, the South, namely Vieux-Fort North, Vieux-Fort South, and Labrie, those people do not want a hospital. And as such, I am from the Micoud South area, and I am putting it to you, please, because I know you are a worker. Unlike those people we have in government who are talkers, I can identify, I know of someone who has a large piece of land that we can put together. We have workers, we have tradesmen in the South. Let us attend to the health of these people in that area because they're interested. Let us try to construct a hospital there. We can contact the WHO and let them know that this government is not ready to provide health care. I understood that they got $80 million in loan to continue the hospital. Prior to the election, they said it would only take chemical and 6 months to complete the hospital. We are 2.5 years in the administration and nothing. Yet they fall sick and they can just go overseas. And the people here are left to suck salt.
Okay, caller. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Look, I think it's a great contribution. I wouldn't even begin to waste my time to go through that process, but I'm happy to attempt. But I would say to you, I think that we, now who have a better understanding of the healthcare insurance program that we were going to put in place, that we should come and exercise the rights we have in the People's Parliament. I'm very happy to lead a major event, protest, meeting, whatever, where thousands of solutions who now recognize the deficiency in our healthcare system come out and protest against what is taking place and demand a healthcare insurance program be put in place.
We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you, Rick. We can't go without your contribution. Good afternoon to you, sir. Hello? Oh, I don't think Rick is there. All right, okay. 452-2979, WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. You have another call? Good afternoon, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you, caller.
And good afternoon, Mr. Shasney.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, so just briefly, I know time is against us. Let me say congratulations for wonderful playing field in Mikot South with lights on it. And then from all report, based on what was saying before, these things was giving cancer because of AstroTurf. Now it is being utilized every night. There's football competition, and persons who are opposed to it right now, they are the one utilizing it. You see how hypocrite we can be? Anyway, thanks very much for a wonderful job and the pros and the way you have changed the life of this constituency in terms of our roads, our playing field, our health center. I mean, this is food for thought. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Let's take another call via WhatsApp.
I just want to thank the caller, and I also want to thank all my supporters in Miku South. And the journey continues to make sure that Miku South is world class and that we invest in the South. So no young person or anyone has to leave the South to get a job in the North and be separated from their family.
What's up? Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon to you, caller.
Hello, good afternoon, Tim. Good afternoon to your guest.
Afternoon.
Mr. Shasney, you spoke in your deliberations a lot about systems and controls and stuff like that. And we have so many examples where, things just didn't seem to be right. I'm not going to mention all, but I'm just going to take St. Jude's as one of those things where under an administration, $118 million was spent. Yet we are not closer to having one room occupied in that. What if you were to assume the reins of governance again? Do you intend to get closure on this? Because this is a serious waste of taxpayers' money. And I mean, people are just coming in and doing whatever it is willy-nilly, and there don't seem to be any repercussions to this. Do you intend to see anything happening in that regard? Because I think for me, I'm saying I think we need to have somebody explain, and if they have to, whatever consequences are supposed to come their way, it should. Do you have any intention of pursuing anything like that if you were to assume the reins of government? Once again, thank you.
Thank you so much for calling, sir.
I think that we have to go on a dual track. So we cannot wait for the outcome of any investigation before we do something. We need to go and get the hospital operational, get HIA airport operational, get the DSH project going back again, and again, making sure people understand what it's about. The Sandy Beach project, again, it's not on the beach. It's across the street from the concrete road. Expand ITEL BPO, expand the call centers for jobs for the young people, develop the sporting facilities in the South. And meanwhile, I think there needs to be a significant review, audit, and apply changes so that no government, regardless of the majority that they have, can bypass the systems we have. And that means strengthening our civil service, and that those persons that are given the authority under the law to protect the people have to be held much more accountable for what they're doing. They should not be able to do a lot of the things they're doing. We need more of the senior civil servants who have that responsibility and are protected under our Constitution to stand up and to say they cannot do that.
Let's get to the call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air. 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026. You have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. You are on the air. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Murphy.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Mr. Shafney.
Good afternoon.
Yes. I have someone coming to see. You doing a good job. Mr. Alan Shasney, you is our father, our daddy. And the people, you do a lot of things for us in our country. And the thing is that we still suffer because we not getting work. The thing is that our grocery going up. There's no hospital medication for us. We have diabetes. I am blind, and our food is very expensive. Look at that. Look at the state of the road. Look at people are dying every day. People missing sugar. Look, I heard they don't have no sugar. Don't have no rice. but they have a little bit right now. But I don't see it like that. Fingers missing in the country like that when you're there. Thing that was missing like that. Look, it's missing sugar. You know, some people doing local juice, like to let them make some juice to other children go to school, make some juice to sell, to people have a little dollar to do a little sugar or little salt, you know, bread to do all these things. All these things missing, you know. All these things we need. Look, hospital, not right. You go in hospital, go and see the doctor, they give you the wrong medication, you cannot get medicine, don't have bed sheet, don't have pillow, they tell you to work with this thing. What kind of that this country have, that government? That government don't have a prime minister in Russia. A lot of people, because if you see, a lot of people talk with Timothy, and that's the right thing they were saying. Because if then people didn't talk about these things about Mr. Timothy, you know, why these people complain? Because the country not going nice in the country. You know, they're not going nice in the country. People are suffering. Things are hard for us.
Okay, caller.
You know,
all right. Okay, thank you so much for calling, ma'am. Let's get another call, 452-2979. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you on the air.
Tim, I thought you were closing at 2 o'clock, and I hung up.
Yeah, but I don't want to conclude the broadcast without hearing from the honorary member for...
Thank you very much. I won't be long.
Program. Yes, go ahead, Rick.
I won't be long.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you and Alan that I looked forward to this show, and by the time it was halfway through, I felt so damn depressed because two things bother me. When the UWP is in, it underscores the faults of the opposite side. When the Labour Party is in, underscores. And if you look carefully, the faults, at least the allegations on both sides, are at best similar. I'm not saying they're the same. Similar. They're allegations. Like I have no proof of anything. So the allegations thrown out are at best similar. You get my point, Tim?
Yeah.
Good. So as it went on, it occurred to me that almost every complaint Alan made was rooted in the Constitution. Because we have a useless Constitution that for 49 years has begged to be adjusted to suit our purposes and who we are and what we are. And all these people getting away with everything is because of the effeteness of our Constitution. We have no protection, despite it being said what we have. We have no demand. I think Alan mentioned an organization that had not submitted audited accounts in some years.
The NLE.
Do that?
The NLE. The National
Right.
Lotteries.
But if my information is correct, and it has been so for a lot of years down the road, the government has never been up to date with its audited accounts. Am I correct?
Correct.
Well, if the government itself is not duty-bound under penalty of some sort to account to the people with an updated audited accounts, that they could not borrow any money or run the country until the audited accounts were well accounted for in the House. You see what I'm saying? And finally, the Suicide Ovarian Commission came up with a load of, to me, very appealing recommendations. There was a parliamentary meeting debating that, and if anybody chooses to go back and read the Hansard, you will see how all the dissenters were on a personal level of dissent. There were one particular guy said that he didn't trust the recall because a prime minister who doesn't like him could easily get him thrown out by manipulating the recall. Another one said that he doesn't want anything in the Constitution regarding people's right to work. He totally misunderstood that. And he said the reason he didn't like it was because too many people are unemployed in the country and they would probably turn around and sue the government. That kind of stuff, you know, Tim. And now we have put together a group of men who are supposed to have another look a committee, another look at the recommendations and so on. I can't see anybody on that committee, Tim, who is qualified in a way that the public would have faith in that person. They are either politicians, hacks, well-known hacks, etc. That's what we have.
But isn't Miss Mary Francis on that committee? Miss Mary Francis is on the committee. You know?
She's resigned.
Mary Francis will be overwhelmed.
She resigned.
Yeah.
Oh.
She resigned?
That's what Mr. Shastin just said there.
So she should, because Mary Francis.
Any idea why she resigned? You don't know?
No, you have to ask her. But I mean, myself and Bradley thought that you had to be an MP to be on it, and we're both going to also resign from that committee.
You're going to resign? Why?
Sorry?
Why are you going to resign?
Hold on, Rick. For a lot of the reasons that Rick is bringing out, it may be well intended, but how can that committee take it upon themselves to make recommendations, or any parliamentary committee make those kind of recommendations? You have a report that was done. Who is the person that's going to go legally and determine whether, in fact, that those things are correct? That can't be the role of the committee to do that. Also, what we realized was that we misinterpreted. That's our fault. We thought you had to be an MP, that one of the MPs had to be on, and we saw the other MPs are not there. So we don't want to be involved in part of this process. I'm not so sure, and I know that there's been the Attorney General has been written to as to whether, in fact, this has the legal founding that he thinks it has. But I agree with Rick. I don't think that, even from a practical perspective, far less legal, that this would be the way to go about changing the Constitution. The Constitution needs to be reviewed. It's a very good document if you follow it, but there are a lot of assumptions that are made in the Constitution that are not there. And we are the ones who have to hold ourselves accountable for it not happening. We have to take this thing substantially more seriously. Those rules are there to protect us.
And what are the kind of people you think should be on such a committee?
I think people who have had practical experience in dealing with some of these issues, right? The civil servants should have the senior civil servants should have some say in what is going on, and again, say of what are the practical problems in trying to implement some of these things. But also, we must know what we want. Have we defined ourselves what it is to be St. Lucian? Are we in agreement that we want to have what's it called, a parliamentary political system, right? When we speak about democracy, what does that mean?
Let me hear Rick. Rick?
Well, you see how ABC, that conversation has thrown us into an ABC pool? ABC. We sound like a bunch of people who just came out of the woods. At this stage, listen to what Alan is saying there is correct. But you think at this stage we should be talking like that? Number one, there was a debate. We already know where most of the ministers from the Labour Party stand on Susie Doven's recommendations. We know, for example, that Kenny Anthony, while praising it on the one hand, on the other hand, dismissed it as not representative of the voice of the people. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of other things he said. Most of the people on that thing are in some way related to the Labour Party. Now, I'm not castigating them. I'm simply saying, since we already know where the ministers stand on this thing, what faith can we have in the people who are now going to sit to make recommendations on? I want to ask also, Alan, for as long as I can remember, every time it comes up to have a deputy speaker, there's one problem or another. Is that true, Tim?
Yes.
Now, let me ask you, Tim, why do you think there is that problem?
I mean, everybody, they're looking down at that position because they don't see it as a position of authority and prominence.
No, they're looking for it. They're not looking for it because they want a portfolio. They want a ministry where they're going to make money.
But that's what I was about to say. That they don't see that something as prominent. Okay. So they want to be part of the cabinet.
Mm-hmm. So they want a ministry where they're going to make money over or under the table. And I'm not referring to any party. I'm saying they want a ministry, and it's not just for, what is the salary? Maybe Alan can tell me, $10,000?
For what?
A minister.
Minister's salary.
Yeah, about that.
Do they all get the same rate?
They all do. It's just really the Prime Minister that would get something more.
Yeah, okay. So, how much does the Speaker get? He gets close to that too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
What?
Yes, he does.
It does. Tim, did you know all of that?
I knew.
So,
But guess what?
Speaker,
A parliamentarian who does not have a portfolio only gets $4,000. A senator gets $2,000.
Okay.
And a deputy speaker, that's up to the discretion.
Okay, so all of this political trouble we've had over deputy speaker, misinterpretations, changing the constitution, tinkering with the constitution, all this kind of bullshit over a position like deputy speaker. Sinclair Daniel, Tim, in all your time in journalism when Sinclair Daniel was around, did you ever see a deputy speaker take his place?
No, never.
Neither me. All of a sudden, we can't do without a deputy speaker, and we're not brains enough in Derek Walker's country that if we have a problem when the one speaker is in the chair, we can solve it in 2 days. You want to tell me we can't do that?
Yeah.
What the hell do we need a deputy speaker for? Since all it causes us is trouble.
And Rick, they've changed it now to you must have it. That's what I was going to preempt you from. You must have a deputy speaker now.
The Constitution is the root of it again. People who are not thinking, idiots and so on, are the ones making those tinkering changes in this all-important Constitution. The people who are changing our Constitution...
Yeah, but Rick, unless you change the Constitution, you have to abide with the rules. And if it says that you must have a deputy, you must have a deputy speaker.
Bear with me. What I'm saying is the people who make those sudden amendments, no discussion with the public, nothing at all. The people who make those decisions, who make laws, and they have no way of implementing it, who just say, well, we're going to have that, we're going to have that change.
But Rick, I don't want to get you involved in politics, but the Prime Minister gave you the explanation. He said it was a campaign promise.
You what?
The Prime Minister said in the House it was a campaign promise.
Well, I really don't care about that. What I'm saying, I'm going past that. I'm saying that the people that who are given, who take on the task of that very important, delicate task on which our lives depend. These guys are not known to be bright people. We know them all.
So let me give you an example, Rick. There was a report that Kenny Anthony got in 1997 from the Commonwealth Secretariat about the Boundaries Commission. The report maybe is about 9 pages long. Historically, where it is, best practices. We have not, as a government in any way, or civil society, understood what it is and then advocate for change. And here are people that know and explains what is the role of the Boundaries Commission. And yet
I have to also say,
yes.
I have to also say, party after party, 49 years.
Correct.
Okay? And we have not done those things, and we expect a vehicle to run without tires and without a carburetor. That's what we're doing in this country. We're taking the country for a ride, and a very fast ride into the
Rick,
abyss.
the Constitution says that when you come to add a new member to the House, as an example, you have to have a referendum. So it means it limits the power of parliamentarians. And that's the point I keep making. We keep on thinking that the authority of the parliamentarians and politicians is absolute. It's not. And until that's why I'm not here to pat you on your back. But
go ahead and pat. Go ahead.
The years that you have been doing this to cause people to think, right? And I know your own personal frustration that maybe the people have not picked up on what you're trying to say. And you're not giving answers to everything. All you're asking them to do is to take a position and to be able to justify what that position.
May I say something on that?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Rick.
As frustrated as I am with my fellow St. Lucians, I blame their state of mind on abusive politicians who know what we are, who know that the people who can afford it will not, because they play to every government. The people who can afford it kiss the butt of every government. I don't know that better than anybody else.
But you have over the years.
Okay, Rick. Thank you.
Rick over the years has trying to advocate for people to take a stance and not to fall prey to what's obviously happening.
Is Rick still there? Okay. Somebody sent a WhatsApp message. How would Shasti treat the opposition differently? He's avoiding your question. That person says the deputy speaker is not a sudden decision. Rick gives the impression that it was a sudden decision. All right, let's see. We'll take...
the deputy speaker was not a sudden position. What was sudden was making it that the person can come from the outside. And clearly it was not well thought out.
We'll take a final call at 452-2979. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Caller,
Yeah,
you are our final caller? Boy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
would you support Mr. Shatney? Would you support a law that would?
That's my good friend Alexander. Go ahead.
He knows me very well. Would you support a law that would that would protect every St. from any abuse, knowing what we have been through?
No, we haven't. When you say protect every solution, tell me what exactly you mean. Are you talking from defamation?
In layman terms, I would say any man who lay his hand on a black person should face retribution. Anyone. That's to stop basic.
I don't understand.
Clearing up of the crime.
That's a
but the other
problem.
thing is, if there was a system, there would have to be a system where everybody gets some money. And if you ever do that, say, as a child in school, your allowance, you'd get a deduction or something like that, because I heard Philip mentioned points. You could use these techniques, but you have to be wise. That's what I'm saying. Somewhere that you would protect every black man, just like we protect the turtle and the manikou. Yeah. Let's say we protect black people as an endangered species.
Well, again, and I don't want to blame everything, but your Constitution actually says that, right? That you are to protect people from being impoverished. The issue here is, how do you do that? And that's the choice that solutions have. You have two political parties that are in part of what they are advocating, are telling you how they would go about protecting people who are impoverished. And one is what they're saying, and the other thing is their ability to implement it in a viable way. And this remains the biggest question. So as long as we have a democracy and people technically have a choice, but I think that the message that Rick has been giving over the years, don't take that choice for granted. Do your own research. Ask the proper questions. And when people are trying to intimidate you or put fear in you, that should raise your back even broader and to run away or to stand even more firm against that. Let us have confidence in our ability to think. I see it all the time. Persons who you don't think have an education or whatever, and when you sit down with them, the common sense that they have is unbelievable, and it's because of perspective.
Hold that point. Imagine when we started to go the calls, they said, well, quick call, quick contribution, quick question. We're already at 2:27. So we have a clip of Prime Minister Philip J.P. made a particular comment in the House of Assembly. We'll listen to that comment and get a reaction from you, and then we'll conclude.
I also have something to say. I won't say it now about the crime in St. Lucia. I'll say it at some point, and you all may have to deal with me, because I know what's happening behind the scenes. I know all that pretense about crime and who's pushing crime. I know what's happening behind the scene. What's happening behind the scene? I know.
What say you to the comments made by the Prime Minister and National Security Minister, Mr. Philip J.P.?
Well, I'm glad he knows, because maybe we're going to see some reprieve. I mean, what do you want to tell you? I have no idea what the man is talking about. All of a sudden, you think you know? What is it you know? All of us know. All of us know. Everybody can see it for themselves, right? And it's not one thing. It's a significant number of things. Is he talking about now the impacts report? Now that he's read it? Because he said he didn't read it before. So did he read it and now he knows what the story is? Is it that persons that are getting contracts, that all of a sudden now they become his friend and they're telling him things he didn't know before? I don't know. I'm just glad he knows, and I'm hoping that, and like the rest of Solutions, that he's going to do something about it and stop the crime.
Final comments from you, sir.
Again, I want to thank all Solutions for their support. We have a very tough road ahead. I want to appeal to all Solutions that we all have a role to play. I'm very worried, Tim, because I see a pattern of behavior with this government that every time that they're coming to the House or in public, they have a responsibility to tell the people the truth and to be sincere and transparent. And we're seeing a pattern of behavior that's not happening. Whether it's St. Jude's. Does Reno have a contract at St. Jude's or not? How much is the contract for? What work is he doing? What's happening at HIA Airport? What's happening with the GPH deal? Is it true that the government has gotten no money? Who have GPH hired? What's going to be happening? Who are the contractors? What's happening at the Rodney Bay Road? When's that going to get started? What's happening at Shock and Tavern housing developments? What's happening with Caster's redevelopment? Who are the people that are getting contracts and how are they getting contracts? There are more questions than there are answers. And sadly, we've reached a state, I certainly have reached a state, and I think many more St. Lucians are getting there even quicker, that you must question every single thing that this government tells you. And the day is coming, and it's where we started that we're going to end. In Parliament, I can only ask the questions. I am not there to defend my character when all of a sudden things are thrown at me. And as I said to them in the House yesterday, well, we're going to wait. We need to sit there and wait and listen to us what we're going to have to say. I said, you're not speaking to me. I'm only asking the questions as the leader of the opposition. You have to explain to everybody and give everybody the answers. That's who you owe the answers to. But the day is coming, my fellow St. Lucians, that we're going to have to go to the People's Parliament. That is all that this government understands. Is they understand when the voice of the people comes out. The silence is not going to work. This idea that I'm going to wait for the next elections to see and to make to change them. Too much damage is being done. This is the example of NLA, of what's taking place. If we allow this government to proceed to do what they're going to do by themselves, how they've done it, we're in trouble. And that's why I intend to write the World Bank and to CDB and to the IMF, who have given support to this government on the basis that they're going to put in proper financial structures and accountability. There's a new Procurement Act. This contract and guarantee with NLA falls outside of those protections, and those protections are being there to hold everyone accountable. And they must also play their role because they're supporting financially this government. And I don't think, knowingly so, but it's our job to do that. And this is not about criticizing St. Lucia. This is about holding our own government accountable. That is the role of the leader of the opposition, to hold the government as best as possible accountable by identifying the areas of conflict, identifying where the Constitution and the laws are being breached. And I don't think that there are many people that could have done what we're doing right now because of the resources. I'm in court on a judicial review matter with the Controller of Customs. I'm in court for boundaries. I'm in a defamation case with Joachim Henry and with Richard Fedrick. I've had 2 constitutional matters. We have a judge that recused himself. Not anybody, ordinary person, Tim. A judge publicly said that there was political interference. Not an ordinary citizen, a judge. And that judge was moved to Grenada. And we are being told that plans were already afoot to move the judge. So if there were plans already moved to move the judge, how come we don't have a new judge yet in St. Lucia? So you're telling me that the OACS court would take away a judge, reduce the capacity in St. Lucia, right, without having a replacement? That's what we see with our eyes. And it's not whether we like any political party. We need to stand up to those things regardless of which political party is in office. This is our country. We cannot abdicate our role and our presence in the governance of our country. And I continue to ask the civil society, senior civil servants, retired persons, lend their voices to these arguments. Don't allow the opposition's voice to be marginalized by saying everything we say is political. And that's why I've taken my time to try to break these issues down as best as possible. But I cannot win. The opposition cannot win this fight by itself. And so again, I want to thank you, Tim, for offering us the platform. My intention is to emulate what the leader of the opposition in Trinidad did, which is to create platforms as the leader of the opposition, not as the political leader of the United Workers' Party, as a leader of the opposition, to go around the length and breadth of this country, to offer solutions, let their voices be heard, make their recommendations, and either those recommendations will be listened to by the government in office, otherwise they'll be noted by the leader of the opposition to make sure that United Workers' Party embraces many of those concerns so they can be addressed when we get back into government. I thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you so much for being my guest on this afternoon's NewsSpin program, Leader of the Opposition and also MP for Micoud South, Mr. Alan Chastney, for being a part of the most monitored talk show in the world. That's NewsSpin. Goodbye.
There is only one option when they arrive.